What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Della Maddalena will knock out Islam Makhachev at UFC 322. Della Maddalena understands why Islam Makhachev is widely considered to be one of the greatest fighters in the game right now, if not ever. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. But Della Maddalena is more than confident he has what it takes to put Makhachev away. JDM is booked to fight Makhachev in the headliner of the November 15th UFC 322 event, which will mark the first time the Australian has competed since he took the welterweight title from Belal Muhammad in May. For Islam, it'll be the first time he's fought since he vacated the lightweight title earlier this year to make a run at 170. Recently, Jack spoke with the media at a training session down under. While forecasting what could unfold at UFC 322, JDM said this: "I'm gonna go for it. Obviously, that would be the best case scenario. Get the finish. I can see it happening. I can see blowing the roof off MSG, taking out the pound for pound #1 with no doubts. A finish would be the dream." In addition, Maddalena also reported he's certain Makhachev will turn to his wrestling game early. It's gonna start on the feet and we'll go from there. I think he's going to try and mix it up. I think he'll probably try getting on wrestling early, I'd imagine. Looking back at the Belal fight, he probably sees that Belal's mistake was maybe not getting on the wrestling early. Yeah, expecting the first round to be getting into some grappling exchanges. One man who knows all too well how dangerous Makhachev can be is Alexander Volkanovski, who was knocked out by Islam in October of 2023. Recently, Volkanovski told Submission Radio that he can definitely see Jack taking out Islam. JDM's boxing and the pressure he can do, incredible. He definitely can get a finish. Islam's great, him moving up. I still think he's a nightmare for a lot of people in the division, but I think JDM can do it. Mateusz Gamrot talks about Charles Oliveira fight. Once it was announced that Gamrot is replacing Rafael Fiziev at UFC Rio de Janeiro, everyone understood that Charles Oliveira could be in for a completely different type of matchup. Recently, Gamrot made it very clear that opinion is on point. Gamrot is stepping in for Fiziev at the October 11th event after campaigning to be the replacement fighter for the headliner. If you watch Gamrot and Fiziev fight, you know that they are very different fighters. Fiziev is a highlight reel striker, while Gamrot's key tools are his wrestling and top game. Despite Gamrot's reputation for being a top-tier grappler, some may have wondered if he'll be willing to risk mixing it up with Oliveira on the ground, who has a very dangerous guard. But while talking to Matt Serra on the UFC's Unfiltered show recently, Gamrot made it clear he's coming in with his usual game plan.
Oh, bro, jiu-jitsu and wrestling is my background. This is in my hair. I feel in my DNA like I can roll with him in the ground. I think this is gonna be epic fight in the ground for sure, because I don't afraid he's in the ground. I will go take him down and I gonna try roll with him in the ground. But bro, this is gonna be all-rounder fight. I wanna exchange punch with him, exchange wrestling. I wanna test myself against him in the ground. So this is gonna be non-stop action for sure, bro.
Jiri Prochazka preparing for both Khalil Rountree and Magomed Ankalaev. Jiri Prochazka is preparing to throw hands with Khalil Rountree Jr. at UFC 320 on October 4th. But recently, he outlined why he's also getting ready for a potential showdown with Magomed Ankalaev. Prochazka ensured that he remains in the title shot mix this past January by taking out Jamal Hill. As UFC 320 approaches, Prochazka is ranked number 2 in the UFC's light heavyweight rankings, and Rountree Jr. is ranked number 4. The fact that Prochazka and Hill are fighting on the same card as the Ankalaev-Alex Pereira rematch certainly does seem deliberate. If anything happens to one of the headliners, the UFC has some options. But in a recent interview Prochazka did, he said this when asked if he's preparing for 3 men at UFC 320. After a more detailed discussion with the manager, I'd say it's more like 2. It's for Rountree and more likely for Ankalaev as well. If Ankalaev were to drop out, I don't know if it would be a title fight with Pereira, or if it would happen at all. I don't think so, or it's rather unlikely, so the preparation is for Rountree and possibly Ankalaev. And speaking of Pereira, the upcoming bout will mark the first time he's competed since he lost via decision to Ankalaev in March. The MMA world is eagerly awaiting to see how the rematch will play out, but according to the former champion, it's going to be very, very different, since he was far from 100% for the first fight. Here's what Pereira recently told Brian Campbell from Morning Combat. "I'm surprised I was even able to fight with everything going on. I think the condition that I had coming into that fight. Honestly, I was about 40% on that night. Obviously, it's going to be more for this fight. Even if I'm only 50%, that 10% is going to make such a great difference. I'm going to leave no doubts for everybody." Lerone Murphy fires back at Alexander Volkanovski for comments. Alexander Volkanovski has signaled that he believes Lerone Murphy could be trying to delay fighting him this year. Well, recently, Murphy has fired back. After Murphy dropped a gazillion jaws to the floor in August by putting away Aaron Pico with a spinning back elbow, Volkanovski called for a fight with him. Since Murphy is 10-0 in all of his UFC bouts to date, on top of the electrifying stoppage, it did make sense. But more recently, Volkanovski told Submission Radio that he's not sure if the Murphy fight will happen this year. Alexander said, quote unquote, "It's hard, I thought that's what it was going to be, but there might be a spanner in the works." Well, after Murphy saw some of the quotes being shared around social media, he posted these responses on X. "He didn't say no to me. I think he's referring to the date. I will be ready whenever. Let's wait and see. The spanner isn't me. I will fight him tomorrow. I understand. I am a very risky last fight." The English fighter also posted this: "They will avoid me like the plague now because they know I have realized my potential." So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. With October right around the corner and the UFC's remaining schedule for 2025 filling up fast, you gotta wonder if this fight will take place this year. UFC updates. Let's take a look at some UFC and fight updates. Recently, Marcel Dorf reported via X that bantamweights Adrian Yanez and Christian Quinones are going to battle at the UFC's November 8th Fight Night card in Las Vegas. Yanez has not fought since December, when he lost via split decision to Daniel Marcos. It was his third loss in his last 4 fights, after he went 5-0 to begin his UFC run. Meanwhile, Quinones has not competed since February of last year, 2024, when he was submitted by Hani Barcelos. Quinones has 3-2 in his last 5. Speaking of Barcelos, recently, Ricky Simón announced that he's going to fight the veteran bantamweight at the UFC's November 8th Vegas card. Simón recorded a unanimous decision win over Cameron Smotherman in June, and has won 2 straight after losing 4 in a row. Barcelos, meanwhile, is riding a 3-fight win streak. In his last fight, which was also in June, he defeated Cody Garbrandt by unanimous decision. And Alex Bahunin is reporting that heavyweights Sean Sheriff and Steven Asplund will fight at the UFC's December 13th Fight Night Vegas card. Sheriff will be competing in just his second UFC fight. In his Octagon debut last October, he was taken out by Junior Tafa. Sheriff has gone 4-0 in pro MMA before that fight. Meanwhile, Asplund will be making his official UFC debut. He recently put away Anthony Guarascio during the current run of Dana White's Contender Series. Asplund has gone 6-1 to date. The UFC is back in Perth, Australia this weekend for its latest event, and according to some reports, the promotion had a problem selling tickets for the card. But according to UFC exec Dave Shaw, there's nothing to see here. We should all just move along. When asked about reports of poor ticket sales at a pre-fight press conference, here was some of what Shaw had to say. "Not at all is there a ticket problem. Listen, from the very beginning, we've taken the long run. We're playing a long game with Australia. We mentioned being first here in 2010 with UFC 110. We opened up the office, playing the long game in 2014 when the UFC Australia office in Sydney was opened, and in 2015 we held the biggest event in UFC history with Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm in Melbourne. We overturned the ban of the Octagon here in Western Australia in 2017. And as the MMA world continues to weigh in on the possibility of Ronda Rousey making a comeback, Henry Cejudo has waded into the conversation. In a recent Pound for Pound podcast, Cejudo had this to say about Rousey's recent social media posts, in which she was filmed lighting up pads and acknowledged she loves MMA again. She rekindled that love once again. There's videos of her training. She believes that she can be the champ once again. I'll say this, people don't know this. She's beaten Kayla Harrison in judo competition before. Now that is the reigning world champion at 135 pounds. The other thing you've got to think about too, she's only 3 years older than Kayla Harrison. I wouldn't count out Ronda. I'm not saying she's going to beat Kayla, so let's not start something like that. What I'm saying is you still can't count her out. Finally, for several weeks now, Conor McGregor has been insisting he's going to fight at the UFC's historic White House card next year. While it remains to be seen if that actually happens, at a minimum, McGregor remains in the UFC's testing pool. Recently, Jedi Goodman reported that McGregor has been tested now 3 times in 2025. Dana White traveled to Hawaii to meet with Max Holloway following disaster. Dana White was recently in Hawaii, but the UFC CEO wasn't there to scope locations for a UFC card. White was there alongside Max Holloway to see housing developments the UFC helped fund to assist victims of the 2023 wildfires. Hawaii Governor Josh Green also took a tour with Holloway and White, and in the following video, he thanked the legendary featherweight and the UFC for all their help.
Today is the celebration of the opening of Homemade Hawaii's land, home village of homes they built following the Maui wildfires in 2023. Thanks to Max and everything he did to raise awareness when the fires initially happened, and UFC collaborated with him to make a formal commitment, and then he's raised money over the past 2 years that went towards building the homes to help house over 800 people across 2 sites. So it's amazing. Today's the opening celebration, and we're thrilled to be here as part of UFC, but also as a representative in partnership with Max.
Joe Rogan says DDP cannot beat Khamzat Chimaev. Not long after Khamzat Chimaev put on a wrestling clinic at UFC 319, Joe Rogan questioned if Dricus du Plessis could ever bridge the massive gap in their grappling abilities. Well, more recently, Rogan has taken it to a new level. He doesn't see DDP avenging the loss. Chimaev ended DDP's reign at the August event by taking him down numerous times and dominating the fight from the top position. Leading up to the contest, Chimaev was a considerable favorite to win that fight, but since du Plessis had proved his doubters wrong so many times before, more than a few fighters predicted Dricus would win. Well, more recently, Rogan had the legendary Mark Kerr on his podcast. While talking about Chimaev's win and how DDP had impressed leading up to their bout, he said this.
It's nuts. It's nuts because it was like a lot of people thought it was boring because it just didn't get to a decision. It just went to a decision. But you just kind of appreciate that level of dominance against a world champion. It's kind of crazy. Where the guy before the fight, Dricus, was being looked at as one of the greatest middleweights of all time. I mean, look at what he did to all these guys. He knocks out Robert Whittaker. He beats out Asanya. He beats Sean Strickland twice. Like, oh my God, he might be one of the greatest of all time. Yeah. And then after that fight, you're like, I don't think he's ever going to beat that guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever going to beat that guy.
Isn't that crazy?
It was like, I don't think there's enough time in the world to bridge that gap.
Dana White pressured to release fighter plus UFC fight off. Yesterday, we reported a fight between Oban Elliott versus Jonathan Makhachev was off UFC Perth due to illness. Well, it looks like the card has taken another huge hit. Last night during the weigh-ins, it was revealed that Justin Tafa versus Louis Sutherland, which was the co-main event, is off. As for the reason, Tafa reportedly had an illness, but the real reason was revealed after. Tafa's opponent, Louis Sutherland, posted a video saying the real reason the fight is off is because Justin Tafa couldn't make weight and ended up going to the hospital for it. According to Sutherland, Tafa needed to cut 7 to 8 pounds the day of the weigh-ins. This is what he had to say.
How's it going, people? Louis Sutherland here, UFC heavyweight. I've got some bad news. Some of you might have already heard. My opponents had to pull out the fight this morning on weigh-in day. He couldn't make the weight. I heard he was a few pounds over and he's had to go to hospital. So the fight's off. Hopefully the UFC get me out sharp. I was ready to put on a show for you guys, but unfortunately that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I'm gutted, but it is what it is. I turned up professional, ready to go, and ready to smash really. So yeah, I just thought I'd let you know myself.
This is now the 6th time that Justin Tafa has pulled out of scheduled UFC bouts. As for the MMA community, after finding out the real reason for the fight being off, a majority of the community wants to see Tafa cut from the roster. Tafa should be cut for this. He's missed weight at heavyweight before too, so this isn't anything new. Wasted everyone's time and made Louis fly across the world for nothing. I'm sorry, but if you miss weight by 8 pounds as a heavyweight, you need to be cut. Between Justin and his brother Junior, the two have been part of a staggering 12 cancelled bouts since 2022. Notably, Justin Tafa is also one of the few men in UFC history to miss the 265-pound heavyweight limit in the past. A heavyweight should be cut immediately for not making weight. Cut them, Dana White. What the is going on? So you're telling me this guy and his team think the best solution making 266-pound limit and fight on his best condition is a water cut 2 days prior to the fight. They should make those Tafa brothers fight each other and cut them both after, but we all know they will fall ill if they tried. Really feels like the Tafa brothers just wake up daily and decide whether they can be bothered to fight. Dana White, how are you not getting the memo by now? We want the Tafa brothers gone. Do you agree and think Tafa should be cut from the UFC for consecutive weight misses? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.